Hello and welcome to Big Booty University. Today we're going to be watching a video for educational purposes only that was removed from YouTube twice for hate speech. But I don't like living in an echo chamber, you know? If I learn a lesson, I don't like that I'm the only person that got to learn the lesson. I think it's better that I show the world what not to do so that I may be publicly shamed. And I really hope that they let this video stay up because it is just for educational purposes only, so that other people can learn the lesson that I have learned. Because YouTube has told me that these videos contain hate speech. Now, the reason there's two of them is because the first one, OBS betrayed me, and the audio cut out after I switched scenes to discuss something else. So I'm gonna play the longer revised version. There's nothing, no audio is missing from the 9-minute video, and the 16-minute video has all of it and more. So we're gonna review the one that has more content so that you too can understand what constitutes hate speech on YouTube. And because of your education, then you won't go make the same mistake that I did. So I hope you learned something from this video, and before you get bored and click away, let's get into it. All right, so before we get in the video, I think it's pertinent to say that I was considering self-censoring because I'm seeing this video disappear from YouTube, and a lot of people are talking about videos being taken down with this in it. But I'm literally encouraging free speech and to not censor yourself as part of the message on this channel. So that would be pretty disingenuous. Therefore, we are just going to send it.
Man, these people took my kids from me, then they froze my bank account. I got so much anger in me, got no way to take it out. Think I'm stuck in a matrix, when I fuck's my nitrous. Yes, I am a cook, I like when people fuck on my bitch. The shit that I'm posting on Twitter, they telling me, hey, don't say that. How niggas can't see me in public, I'm driving an all-chrome Maybach. With all of the money and fame, I still can't get my kids back. With all of the money and fame, I still don't get to see my children. Niggas see my Twitter, but they don't see how I be feeling. So I became a Nazi, yeah, bitch, I'm the villain. They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. All my niggas Nazis, nigga, how Hitler. She wanna fuck with Japan, I put the chrome on the bench. She reaching down in my pants, she got the world in her hands.
Meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für mich. Wenn ja,
anything specific with the song, I want to ask a question about art. What's the purpose of art in society? Is it supposed to be on the walls of motels? Is it supposed to be squiggles? Or is it supposed to be a way for us to use analogy to soften the horrors of daily life, make things that are too uncomfortable to look at directly visible to society, and foster a discussion of things that we're neglecting because we don't have the constitution to look at it and deal with it outside of the abstract realm. Now, this is a very extreme piece of art. Some people are going to like it and some people are going to hate it. But it is art, and it does show the struggle that this man has gone through. Dave Chappelle wildly predicted this almost 20 years ago as a comedy skit. And somehow our reality has become so absurd that it's following the boundaries pushed by this piece of art. Kanye says, "Man, these people took my kids from me. Then they froze my bank account. I got so much anger in me, got no way to take it out. Think I'm stuck in a matrix. With all the money and fame, I don't get to see my children. People see my Twitter, but they don't see how I be feeling. So I became a Nazi. Yeah, I'm the villain." Who took his kids away? Who froze his bank accounts? I think those things happened. We saw them. They were in the news. And it would seem like that would be the adult version of taking your toys away so you obey. The other mechanism of control that seems to be used is blackmail to get compliance. That is, if they can't convince you to hang yourself from a tree and shoot yourself in the back of the head with a shotgun. If anyone were aware of Ye doing things with his cousin that most people would judge him for, in spite of the fact that we preach so much tolerance in society of things like this, then the only way to take that power from them would be to self-disclose. I'm trying to educate myself with the rest of you guys. So I just, if I really thought this was about a black man who truly believed in just simply white supremacy, and he had just boiled it down to that, and it was just a message of pure hate, and it wasn't actually a reaction to the entire system of programming that has been brought down upon us since we were children and molded our brain to produce emotional responses to certain topics because we've been conditioned to believe that this is how good people respond, then I wouldn't have posted any of this content. So by reviewing it, I'm not trying to glorify this. I'm not trying to say I'm right. I'm not doing anything but just trying to educate myself and anyone who watches this as to what hate speech truly is, because I'll call it out when we get to 9 minutes and 52 seconds, which was when the first video was flagged for hate speech. We'll review that and discuss a little bit, and then when we get to 16:14, we'll also discuss that hate speech flag and talk about what is fundamentally wrong with the system and why the system is even conditioned to react in the same way that we do. So there's cohesion between the subject and the ruler, the person in charge and the person who is subjugated. And I am trying to be open-minded and understand what it is that I'm saying that is so hateful for the benefit of the rest of the creators out there that might make a misstep, because these rules are not well defined and seem to be open to interpretation. But again, it's for education purposes only. I'm not trying to promote any of the ideas that this idiot that we're watching on the screen promoted. That's a different person. I've grown since this was posted. I'm a different person. I've learned lessons. Take accountability for telling the world the truth on your own terms, and then you are free from control through fear of embarrassment. That would explain the recent song Cousin. I would say Ye is part of the Matrix since he is a massive artist and is already embedded permanently in our culture through music, which is part of the Matrix that they allow more freedom. I actually believe Ye understands the academic definition of racism and is using it against the system. Racism, according to intellectuals, requires both power and privilege. Being part of a protected minority excludes black music from receiving this label. Is it now racist for white people to listen to black music? They've spent years crafting this weapon, honing the edge, perfecting their grip, and they believed it was a weapon only they would be able to wield. This is Ye pulling Excalibur from the stone. This is Neo, who is himself part of the Matrix, breaking his own programming, and by extension, breaking the programming of the Matrix itself. And if that analogy is true, then there are only two options. So before we move on, I want to clarify, because I think that what I just said is a little bit confusing and not as well fleshed out as it could have been. The racism that exists in rap is acceptable racism, right? The N-word, every other word. That's all great. That's all fine. That type of racism has been accepted as being mainstream. We all hear it. We understand that this is okay. Nobody feels bad about it. Nobody feels guilty, because we all know that being racist is wrong, and we feel guilty if we do it. Most non-psychopaths, sociopaths that don't have these mechanisms, who don't have empathy for other people, most good people understand that being racist is wrong. So I think Kanye has touched on something here personally, and again, I'm trying to re-educate myself, and what I thought was that he was showing that there are acceptable types of racism, and then there are types of racism that are not acceptable. And it's just confusing to me in my process of trying to understand the world that one type of racism is okay, but one song against millions of songs that have the acceptable racism, just one song that has that unacceptable type. I just think that there's such a stark difference between the two, and I have a hard time personally reconciling. So it was my own ignorance that prompted me to say what I just said, because I didn't understand, and I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to educate myself. I'm trying to educate others so that we can all understand why it is that certain types of racism is all good, and other types of racism is never good under any circumstances. I mean, I don't know. I'm just one of these weird people that thinks that something should either be clearly labeled as being bad, so we shouldn't be racist toward each other, or racism is good and it's fun and funny. And comedians can be racist, and we can be racist in music, and it's all good, and we're all having a good time because we all love each other. I thought that's what we were doing. I thought this was a song about love. And the fact that we can all be one people. We don't need to be tribal and cling to these and say my group is better than yours, and we can do this stuff inside our closed community, but you better not say this word. And I mean, I just am trying to understand things, and I'm guilty as charged. I want to put this up so I can be publicly shamed. I want my hate speech to be on YouTube specifically, because it's on X. I mean, they didn't take it down. I want it to be on YouTube specifically so I can be shamed. I want people to see my unacceptable behavior for educational purposes only. I want people to hear my unacceptable speech so that they can be educated about what speech is unacceptable so they don't make the same mistakes that I do. So in 2 minutes, we're going to get to the part that was flagged for hate speech, and I'll let the video play until then. If they admit they have lost control, and Ye shows the world that you are free to say and do what you want if you are without fear and you are not a controlled puppet, this could break the control on others. If they change their own definitions and admit it was actually all made up BS, they could also wake people up to the idea that it has all been manufactured, a manufactured brainwashing experiment. They cannot start calling black people racists or white supremacists. Or can they? I guess we'll have to see. They can either give Kanye his kids back and admit their own wrongdoings publicly, or they can do nothing, and Ye gains more power with every individual who begins to understand the game, who starts to understand why he is railing against the banks, porn, Hollywood, fashion, censorship, etc. This could diminish the individual fear of these institutions that we feel as individuals. It could actually bring us together in solidarity. Now, do I agree with the chorus? No, I do not support another 85 million people dying over a disagreement that could be settled with words, just like World War II. We need to allow the worst kinds of free speech, and this is a true test of that system in front of the world. In order to have compassion and empathy for someone, we must understand their perspective. Understanding requires communication, and free speech is the vehicle that allows us to share thoughts and work together, not war. So we're at 9:54. I'm not sure how this hate speech flag works because they just gave me a single time. They didn't give me like a scope of when the hate speech occurred. So we're at 9:54. It's either after this, it was before it, or it was specifically 2 seconds ago. I'm not exactly sure, but I just can't believe again that if you listen to Kanye talk about the fact that they wanted him to go educate himself by visiting the Holocaust Museum, his response was, "Oh, well, I want you to visit Planned Parenthood because that's our Holocaust Museum." So you must not be listening to what he's saying if you believe that just because he put out this song, he is now Clayton Bigsby. He is the first actual black white supremacist who is not expressing any views of white supremacy except for saying he's a Nazi and saying Hail Hitler. I mean, I just don't get it because I'm stupid, because I'm ignorant, because I'm fallible, because I was created as a less than perfect being, I guess, by my creator. I must be stuck in my own ignorance. I'm trapped in my own inability to comprehend why people would think, with everything Kanye has done, putting out black clothing line, I mean, nothing. Go back and show me something he's done that is actually clearly aligned with white supremacy so that I can understand. I would love to have some engagement on this video. I mean, I'm trying to educate, and if no one listens, then I'm just sitting here, talking to myself. So I would love for some engagement. I'd love to learn something. I'd love to have this explained to me. I thought I was on here trying to help other people understand. Now I'm on here trying to understand myself. I'm trying to understand what's going on here, and I may be dead wrong. YouTube is clearly saying I'm dead wrong. This is all hate speech. So I just want to understand the reality that I'm in so that I can operate according to the rules and survive. I just want to survive so badly, you know? War is how we kill each other when we have disagreements. Without free speech, war is inevitable, since fighting is the other way to resolve a disagreement. So seriously, is it hate speech to say that we need to have communication so that we can work out our differences and solve them in a peaceful manner? Uh, is that what hate speech is? Acknowledging the reality that we have two options, you know? We have two options. We can either work things out peaceably using the communication language we invented to bring our brains together so we can pool resources, we can collaborate, we can work together, we can solve problems. Because I can talk to you and communicate portions of the problem that I see, and you can communicate to me, and then we can bring more people into the group and we can get all these perspectives and all this mental horsepower working on this one problem. And then, the other thing is what I said about there being two options. I rambled a little bit here. What I meant was there's only really two options. They can do what Kanye did and they can go out and they can own the things that they can be publicly shamed for and self-disclose their own sins for the world to see. So they can be shamed for them voluntarily. They can punish themselves. They can be their own dad. They don't need a dad like YouTube or the government or any other system of control to punish them. They're going to self-punish. They're going to take accountability for their own actions. I did something wrong in the past, and I'm going to tell the world publicly so that that burden is lifted off me. That secret is out and off my shoulders. I don't have to carry this alone for the rest of the world. I blast it off into the world and the greater universe and release it so that it's not just my burden to bear. Everyone knows. So that's what I'm trying to say is the people in power who have done all these things to Kanye, take his money, take his kids, try to medicate him, try to get him called crazy. They can either take accountability for the things that they've done wrong, and then they don't have a place of fear where they're afraid Kanye's going to say something that's going to disrupt their system of control and expose some of their misdeeds without their consent, accidentally disclose, so that they don't have control over the situation of disclosure, because that's what blackmail is. It's someone else telling your secrets that you don't want told. Someone else telling your secrets that you're afraid of them coming out. So the first option would be they disclose their own sins and then they don't have anything to fear and they can be more honest about what they're actually doing because they have nothing to fear. Or they can try to suppress Kanye and they can disclose none of their own sins. They continue to be fearful and they delete any content that could jeopardize their perfectly manicured but completely rotten narrative that they have put out, because they're only telling half of the truth. They're only telling the part that they want you to know. And all the other deals and all the other discussions and all the other maneuvers are kept in the darkness. They can either bring their whole operation into the light because it's good and it's better than what Kanye is doing. What Kanye is doing is evil by putting out a song about Hail Hitler to expose the fact that if you say those words, you don't summon an actual demon. Hitler's dead. He's not Satan. He's not waiting to return to the earth, even though we've pretty much replaced Satan in our culture with Hitler. So we took an immortal being that has magical powers. We replaced him with a man who cannot return from the dead. And yet we still worship and treat the man as though he is some sort of eternal deity, which remains relevant in perpetuity. And because of this, there's certain things that we can't talk about. So it's a one-sided discussion. And we're missing a lot of context because we're afraid to talk about it, because we have an emotional reaction when it gets brought up. You know, you're not supposed to talk about this. You know that good people don't talk about these topics other than to say, oh, it was horrible. We don't want any intellectual nuance. We don't want to revisit this. I mean, just like the pyramids, we don't want to call this story that we've established and we've researched and we've documented. We don't want to call any of this into question. We've already solved this. There's no need to look at it any further. There's no need to discuss. We can't learn. We've done the best we can. We're the best people we can be. And revisiting this is just going backwards. Revisiting this is not progress. Well, that's only true if the people who told the story told the true story and we actually understand the facts. If we actually were told a lie or a partial truth or a lie through omission, and we don't actually understand what happened, then I think there's things to be learned from looking back at this period and looking back at these events and trying to understand how this went so badly and how 85 million people died because we couldn't solve things with words. We couldn't come to an agreement. And when we can't come to agreement, whether it's two people or whether it's the whole world, then the next step is that we fight. And if it's hate speech, to just acknowledge that mechanism, then this video is going to get taken down again, even though it's for educational purposes only. Apparently, hate speech trumps education. Apparently, not saying things that are hateful speech in order to learn is more important than understanding our reality. And if we treated the world like that back when we were hunters and gatherers, supposedly when the pyramids were around, yeah, we were hunters and gatherers, and we moved stones in a manner and with precision that we couldn't replicate in an economically feasible way unless we understood that there was a bigger reason for building a pyramid and we could benefit as a population from this pile of rocks somehow, which is crazy. It's not, I mean, all the theories that this is anything more than a tomb do not align with the establishment and what we've been told. This is a tomb. It's just a really big grave site that we said, oh, it's really important to bury someone in a grave this big. So we can't replicate what we saw the people in ancient times build. And we shouldn't revisit it because these experts have already nailed it down. There's nothing more to learn. It would just be a fruitless endeavor, a waste of our time to try and understand the reality of our situation. If we did this back when we were hunters and gatherers, we wouldn't understand what berries were good to eat and bad to eat, because one person in our tribe would just tell us what was good and what was bad. And we wouldn't investigate where the animals are that we need to go hunt. That one person just knows where everything is. There's no need for other people to become involved. That person who's in power tells other people where to go look and where not to look. We don't explore the world for ourselves. We don't conquer the planet and industrialize and civilize and build great societies that live longer than we live ourselves. I mean, this is how we live on. This is our everlasting life. This is our dream, to live forever. Most people don't want to die. Most people are afraid of death. They operate from a place of fear. They worship medicine. They worship science because these things are going to make them live forever. They think that we're gods now because we dropped the atom bomb. And if we thought that we were gods when we were living in dirt huts and we didn't need to do anything better, we didn't need to better ourselves or figure anything else because we had this one person in our tribe who just told us what to do, then you're turning off the brains of every single other person. And they're just listening. They're not doing any critical thinking. They're not improving themselves. They're not improving the culture in the group. You're just listening to one person. So I think that's a negative. We wouldn't be where we're at if you didn't have the whole group being critical of others and sorting things out. And in the marketplace of free ideas, everybody gets to contribute, but other people are going to be judgmental and reactionary and give you feedback on your ideas, whether they're good or bad. I mean, that's how we built this civilization. This is how we're at where we're at right now. And it seems like the system today is trying to manipulate and suppress the mechanism that we have arrived where we're at and say, no, no, we don't need this anymore. We've got it all handled. The people down here don't need to think. They don't need to try and figure anything out. We'll tell them what we've figured out, and they can just internalize our beliefs and go along with us. We're never going to improve. We're just going to be stuck where we're at if you only have one perspective and no one else is allowed to contribute to the system, even if they're ignorant, even if they don't understand. You can learn lessons from people that are clueless. You hear them say something, and then someone else who does understand explains, and we all get to learn. So I think it is extremely important to protect free speech in the one place, America, that has absolute free speech. Science tells us that magical incantations and demons are not real. So what justification could possibly explain a modern intellectual reacting to the words of Ye, the Black Wizard? They have convinced us to censor ourselves, and if that fails to continue to control our thoughts, then all of it falls, and light shines on the darkness and corruption at the top. Whatever and whomever is behind the curtain does not want this at all costs. With that said, I think anyone in the world should be aware that in the United States House of Representatives, the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act has passed. The article reads as follows and is hosted on a .gov website. Congressman Michael Guest, 3rd District of Mississippi. I will include the links in the description for anyone interested. Amid a rise in anti-Israel protests on campus colleges across the country, the U.S. House of Representatives took up the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act on Wednesday, updating the definition of anti-Semitism used in federal anti-discrimination law. The legislation passed the House by a vote of 320 to 91, with 21 Republicans and 70 Democrats opposing the bill. Some opponents of the bill, such as New York Congressman Jerry Nadler, a Democrat Jewish lawmaker, have raised free speech concerns. Nadler, who described himself as a deeply committed Zionist, cautioned against the measure, saying it threatens to chill constitutionally protected speech. Republican Matt Gaetz of Florida shared Nadler's view, calling the bill a ridiculous hate speech bill. This is a quote from Gaetz's X account. Anti-Semitism is wrong, but this legislation is written without regard for the Constitution, common sense, or even the common understanding of the meaning of words. The gospel itself would meet the definition of anti-Semitism under the terms of this bill. This is very concerning that there is that much support in our House of Representatives for a bill that largely represents another country's ability to be criticized. We can criticize our government all we want, but why is it that we have to have an anti-constitutional bill in our legislative branch and no one is even talking about it? All these Epstein files and all the rest of the news cycle is a distraction to keep your eyes off the erosion of your rights right now, as we speak. Now, I know what this guy, the old me, who has since been re-educated, this might seem or sound inflammatory to say this, but I'm not attacking American Jews. I'm not attacking the Jews as a group. I'm simply talking about the nation of Israel having a unique position of being protected from criticism inside of our system. So I may have said it wrong. I may have said it too aggressively, and that was, construed as hateful, but what all I'm trying to say is that this is America, and every nation, as we've agreed upon, has a right to its own sovereignty. It has a right to not having other militaries or other uh, intelligence agencies, other operatives coming in and pushing agendas that benefit a country. And you could use any country, Germany, Japan, any of our allies, or Russia, or China, or Israel. I'm trying to treat everything with equality. As I said, either racism is good or racism is bad, and we shouldn't do it. I just want clarity. So, from my perspective, I was saying, well, the system is uniform. We treat all other nations as foreign entities that have their own agendas and their own populations to take care of. They have different priorities than the American agenda, which should be to take care of the people inside of this country. And I want to be clear, a nation is not made up of the soil on which it exists upon. We often fight over land, but that's not what a nation is. A nation is made up of the people inside of it, regardless of their background, regardless of what they look like, regardless of what their name is. It's the people, it's the tribe that we're all a part of. We shouldn't fight other tribes, but we should be somewhat protective of at least taking care of our own people. I don't want to fight other people. I just want to have like a boundary, like a border, where this is the demarcation line, where outside of here, there's other agendas, and inside of here, we're a collective, cohesive, cooperative unit working together for the benefit of each other. That's a good thing, right? I thought it was. I mean, I went to school and they taught me all this stuff, but I'm just getting a different I'm getting a different perspective as I get older and I get out into the magical digital ecosystem where I get to learn what the world really is about today. And the update for this bill is it has passed the House. The Senate has read it twice and referred it to the Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. This is the time to contact your elected representatives and let them know that you do not support this bill if you feel that this is a violation of our Constitution and your rights to criticize our foreign relationship with other sovereign nations by all names. No nation has special protected status where they can operate freely inside of our government without disclosing themselves as a foreign entity, except for AIPAC. The Israel lobby is the only foreign lobby that is allowed to operate without registering as a foreign entity. The last person that tried to get this done was John F. Kennedy, and he was assassinated shortly thereafter. This is the time to take things seriously and to become involved in the civic process, to take your rights seriously as obligations and responsibilities. As an informed citizen, it is your duty to be part of protecting this nation and not allowing other people, whether they have sworn an oath or not, to co-opt and destroy the nation from within with legislation that directly goes against our founding documents. I do not know how I could possibly be any more clear about the seriousness of speech laws trying to be passed in America. I shouldn't have to remind anyone that it is the First Amendment. And the Second Amendment is there in case someone comes in and tries to do exactly what you see on this screen. Have a great day. I hope that you found this valuable. So this is 1614. This is the other flag for hate speech. So I guess discussing the Constitution and our rights in America, the framework of this nation, is also hate speech. It's I I, I mean I this is my journey of education. We're all brothers and sisters together. We're learning together. So help me understand what is hateful about discussing the foundational documents of America as we understand them. That would be like if listening to the Supreme Court decide a case was was illegal because of hate speech laws that we pass in the country, so that we can no longer hear the Supreme Court discuss what is constitutional and what is not constitutional. Now, I may be wrong, and that's fine. If you disagree and you think that protecting another nation's ability to operate inside of our country and lobby our Congress and Senate and president and God knows what else. I mean, if that's according to the Constitution, then I am just ignorant, which I accept. I accept. I mean, I don't think that I know everything. I get things wrong all the time. I think that I get things right once in a while, but that could be wrong too. I really don't know. So let's finish the video and then I'll have final thoughts and I'll, stop wasting your time. If so, we are going to be pushing into anything regardless of the danger for the channel, because I don't care about this channel. I care about my nation. I care about my fellow citizens, but I do not love my government, especially when it is doing things that do not benefit the people inside this country. Take care. So this is me following up on what I said in that video, which was removed. I don't think that the way that YouTube censors things is correct. I don't think deletion is the correct way to go about this. I think that in order for us to learn and understand what's really going on, if that's the goal, if the goal is to not be confusing and uncertain and just create a system where you could step on a landmine anywhere and you can never understand your environment because it's so confusing. You don't know what to eat. You don't know where to go because everything is so confusing, and you can't get complete information because a bunch of stuff is just being ripped out of the collective consciousness of society and culture. And it's just, no, we can't talk about that. No, we can't talk about this. No, we're going to remove your ability to communicate. We're going to take the Lego blocks away so you can't build the whole model. And you're going to be really confused because there's a bunch of missing blocks. But that's okay, because we only want you to build this portion of the model. We don't want the rest of it in there. I don't think deleting is the right way to do it. I think that they should put a label on content that is censored, and they should leave it up so you can watch it and see censored content, and you can educate yourself about what is truly not allowed in our culture and society, which again is how we live forever. This is how humans live forever. It's not you living forever. It's you creating more human beings who live on beyond you, and then more human beings after that. And that's how we arrive at where we're at today. That's how I'm alive. That's how you're alive. That's how we're all here. And for a long time, we were genuinely trying to pass that information on to the next generation in a genuine way. So if we want to continue to live up to that legacy, if we want to stand on the shoulders of the giants who came before us and went out into the wilderness and cut down trees and built houses and infrastructure and community and invented modern plumbing and invented the computer and invented everything that makes all of this possible, then we need to hold ourselves up to the standard of allowing people to learn from our mistakes, allowing people to see the wrong things so they may understand what's right. and giving people a full and comprehensive view of reality so that we can all work together and all of our collective brain power can be harnessed using our communication system, using our language, using our systems of communication, our networks that are now global, for us to interface instantaneously from Japan and the United States or anywhere else on the globe. Then the best and most successful way to do that is to have the most access to information. Am I wrong? Is that ignorance? Is that wrong? I if you're here this long, then I'm just going to say Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And what I've learned from Jesus Christ is accountability and acceptance is important to being a good human being. If other people want to hold you accountable for your actions, and you're comfortable going out into the world and exposing these actions to others and accepting the feedback and criticism that you get, I think that that's an honorable way to live. And if people want to kill you or cancel you or destroy you or insult you for putting these things out, then you must accept the outcome because you made the choice to put it out in the first place. You made the choice to take the thought that's right in here and let it flow out of your mouth and into the ears of others. If you're going to do that, if you're going to speak, then you should accept whatever comes back. And if the rest of the world and all your other human beings say that you're evil and you're bad, then you should accept that. And if you do believe in a higher power, then you still have hope. And I think that this system is trying to remove your hope, trying to remove your faith in humanity, trying to remove your belief in goodness and progress into the future, and is trying to make you hopeless enough to accept some sort of solution that they can give you, some sort of fix that the people in power who dictate the terms of life, if life has gotten so depressing, if life has gotten so hard and so challenging, and someone comes to you and says, oh, well, I can fix this, you just got to give me a bunch more control and power, which is how Hitler did it. I mean, things were bad in Germany, really, really bad, because of World War I and all the financial sanctions that were placed on Germany by the other parties in World War I, who felt that they were the aggressor and they needed to be punished, because the truth is that the front lines didn't move in World War I. It was trench warfare where nasty tactics were used by all sides, but largely the war front didn't move. So let's just say you got to the end of World War I, they said enough is enough, and then no one got punished, and they just admitted that it was a big mistake, it was a big misunderstanding, there was no real purpose to it. Then there probably would have been outrage among the people, right? All the dead brothers and fathers and husbands and sons, there probably would have been outrage from their family members. Man, we did all this and all these people died, and we're just going to call it off and say, oh, well, no, let's punish Germany. Let's give the people some sort of bad guy to hate. It's all their fault. So Hitler took Germany over when it was having to pay to rebuild Europe because it had been destroyed. And he told them, hey, if you give me power, I've identified the problem over here and over here. If you give me enough power, I can fix it. I can turn our economy around. I can make us able to defend ourselves again. We can weaponize. We can react. We can be reactive. And people bought into that. And so if in America we get in a similar desperate situation where we need someone to fix things because they've gotten so out of balance and things are so bad and the struggle is so hard that we're like, yeah, I guess freedom didn't really work out. Freedom was dangerous and uncertain and allowed for the chaos to develop because these people didn't have enough control to manipulate and suppress it and make sure that the money stayed where it needs to be and people didn't do X, Y, and Z. We keep everything in control, and then we can create a utopian society. So the people say, sure, you can have the power. We believe in you. You sound like a good person. Let's see what you can do. Here's all the power. And then fast forward, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, something like that. The Nazi regime decides to reignite the world war. So people gave Hitler all this power, and what did he do with it? The good message of rebuilding Germany and just creating a stable, productive member of the European continent got corrupted into let's go kill everybody. And that was because the population accepted the control and gave their freedoms and their ability to have a say. They gave it away to someone who said they're a good person and they're going to save everything and fix everything. So, I mean, that's really why this video is coming out, is because I see the same things happening, including the rise of anti-Semitism. I mean, it's literally, if you look back in history, history is really amazing. It's one of my favorite subjects, and that was not true in school. It's just true as an adult, because I can go back and especially because I believe the news and the media is lying to me, and it's much more easy to manipulate facts in the moment than it is to manipulate a recording of history by multiple different groups of people who experienced it and were a witness to it. I find that you can go back in history and find some very reliable information if you corroborate different sources and see what different people on different sides had to say about things. I think you can learn a lot, and I think you can extrapolate those points that happen in history and bring them forward into the modern moment and say, wow, a lot of the same things are happening, and this is very concerning. So I am very concerned. I'm not hateful. I love everybody. I really do. As long as you have good intentions. That's my only requirement, is that you come in, engage with society, and do a few things to show that you're not a bad actor and you don't say one thing and do another. I want to hear your words and witness your actions and be able to reconcile the two and say, this makes sense. And what I see today, just like when you go back and look at World War II, I mean, how many documentaries about Hitler and the confusion about how this could have happened are there? How many? I think Netflix has one out that's named something like that. How could it happen? And it seems like even though we've had 80, 75 years, 80 years to learn how it could have happened, it seems like we're just as clueless as though World War II never happened. It seems like we learned nothing from it. We've put out all this content supposedly educating people about how it happened, and yet we still don't understand how all this happened. And I think the proof is in the fact that the same events, the same circumstances are developing that would be conducive to World War III. And I think it's directly related to the idea that we can't understand what's actually going on. There's a narrative that's being shown to us as far as what we believe is going on. But for some reason, this is not producing the ideal conditions. America is not thriving. Europe is not thriving. There's conflict in the Middle East. There's conflict in the South Asian region between Russia and another country. There are alliances forming to challenge the American petrodollar. The BRICS nations are forming a gold-backed currency that can be used for an oil market and selling oil that is not attached to the American petrodollar. I mean, you also go back in history and you see the rise of the Dutch Empire, and then they go down, and then the English Empire rises, and then the English Empire is going down and America is rising. And right now it appears that America is going down and China is rising. And instead of talking about these types of things, instead of talking about America and what it's doing in the world, Inside America, we would rather talk about what you can't say and what you can't do. And we should fight. We should create a division between men and women. We should create an artificial division between people of different colors, even though America is based on the idea that we're a multicultural civilization. And look, world, a country with people of different ethnic backgrounds and people who look completely different than each other. Look, we can all come to one place, have a shared set of values and virtues and morals, work together under this framework, try to be good people and engage each other in a genuine way, not lie to each other, not mistreat each other, not manipulate each other, be honest with each other, and look, we can all get along. This shows, America shows what the world could be if we weren't concerned with competing with each other as the primary mechanism for our survival. I mean, capitalism is competing with each other for resources, and that competition motivates people because they want to feed their ego and they want to be better than other people. They want acknowledgement, they want external validation. They want people to recognize that they're smart or they're beautiful or they're creative. They have some value to add. People love that type of feedback. So of course, if the system is you get positive feedback, if you get a bunch of resources that you can stack up in your bank account and you have more wealth and you've been more efficient at interfacing with the capitalist system, wow, look at this person. They're a shining example of success. So if the whole system is based on that, of course we're going to compete with each other. But we used to have a communist system of control in America that was competing with our capitalist government and capitalist economy, and that was the Christian church. The Christian church was in the local communities, and it was not a competitive system of control. It was a cooperative system of control. It was a system of control that pushed acceptance. It was a system of control that said, stand up for people who are weaker than you, speak out for people who are weaker than you, and do so not just because you're a good person, because being a good person isn't enough of a motivation for most people. Speak out for people below you who are weaker than you, because you are setting a positive example for others to see who may be even more powerful than you. And doing so will encourage those with even more resources and power to hopefully do the right thing, because you're getting rewarded by that community, the Christian community, for being a good person and trying to help those less fortunate than you. You're trying to lift people up with you and bring them with you and protect people that are helpless and defensive, in the hopes that people who are bigger than you and stronger than you will do the same thing. People who are bigger than you will stand up for you. This is cooperation. This is love for others. This is doing the right thing. This is seeing a benefit for myself and saying, someone else did something nice for me, and this motivates me to go out and do something nice for others. So, if we're all selfish and we're all individuals, we can never reach the potential that we can if we all genuinely engage together and become bigger than ourselves. We become a collective, we become a society, we become a global civilization. And I'm not saying this in a government way, because the government is not what makes you be a good person. It starts at the individual level. It starts with me making a decision to do something good for other people. It starts with me making a decision to recognize the evil inside of me. It starts with me understanding that I don't create bad thoughts. I don't create anxiety for myself. I don't create depression for myself. And so if I don't do that, then I can't take credit for my good thoughts either. It's a place of humility. It's a place of acceptance that you are fallible. It's a place of acceptance that you don't know everything. And engaging with other human beings in a genuine way can help you understand more, because other people understand a small piece of the puzzle. So by removing this collectivism and just focusing on the competitive environment, we have become bigger liars. We have become bigger cheaters. We have been doing the wrong things because it benefits us individually, but it harms the greater society. It harms the greater civilization. It harms our cohesiveness. It harms our peace and can lead to war. And I think that this is a critical thing for us to understand if we want to keep people alive, if we love other human beings and we don't love war. I think the craziest thing is, even if we created a utopian society, we have to acknowledge there are people in society, there are human beings alive that want to harm other people. So if your hell on earth is a society that is filled with war and violence and hatred, there are people that if we created a utopian society where everybody worked together, no one had more than they needed, everybody had more than what they needed, everybody was happy and comfortable and well fed and filled with love, there would still be people on earth who were unhappy because certain people do want war. Certain people want other people to die. Certain people want to take what you have. They want to generate conflict for the end goal of taking what you have and making you into a bad person so that they can benefit. Some people are selfish. Even in a utopian society, you're going to have selfish people. So if you create a utopian society, you have to have some filter to figure out who is good and bad. And this is why we used to ostracize people. This is why Plato, I think it was Plato or Socrates, or maybe both, they had the choice of being excommunicated and kicked out of their society or death. And they chose death because back then being kicked out of your society was akin to death. Because if you went to the next city and you didn't have any sort of documentation that you were part of their culture and you were a good person, then you would be killed as an infiltrator. You would not be welcome. And that is not a Christian thing to do, to kill people. But if you allow the good actors and the bad actors equal access to control of your system, then it is going to be probably manipulated by people with bad intentions. And if you don't try to figure out who's who, then it's going to be very hard for you to understand who's good, who's bad, and how to protect your perfect system from being corrupted by human influence and human evil. This is why we need to engage each other with honesty, and we need to also witness our actions, and they need to be done in the light. If we don't want to go into World War III, if we don't want to kill human beings, if we want to try to be good people who work together, then we need to be accepting of not everybody, but accepting and loving of people that have good intention. And we need to recognize the people who have bad intentions, and we should not attack them or kill them. We should just expose the information that tells people who they really are, and then we should allow them to live with the consequences and the judgment that is purely based on their own behavior. And this is what I'm doing here. I'm trying to live and be accountable to my own behavior. I want it to be in the light. I don't want it to be in the darkness. I don't want it to be in the deleted hole of YouTube. I want it to be posted so you can see what is wrong with me. So I hope that you got to watch the video and you can see everything clearly. I'm being as transparent as I possibly can. And I'm trying to encourage those above me and below me to follow the example of living in freedom. You don't need to hide. You can be who you are. And that's okay. As long as you're willing to accept whatever feedback the rest of your collective human beings give you and whatever the universe and the chaos of everyday existence in the universe brings your way. You're not safe. You can go outside and a meteor can fall out of the sky. Illusion and safety go hand in hand. The truth is that freedom and being a free range human being or citizen is dangerous. Making your own choices is actually dangerous. You can make the wrong choice. Every day you can go out and you can step in a pothole. You can fall in an open manhole cover because you're not paying attention. That is danger. That is also freedom. If you were locked in a bubble, that is safety with no freedom. So ask yourself, do you want freedom and to be a free range human being out in the world, able to make mistakes, able to say the wrong thing, but also able to learn and be better? Or do you want to be in a bubble placed there by someone else, unable to make your own choices, unable to accidentally place yourself in harm, and live according to what you want? Make decisions according to what you want. Be the human being that you want to see in the world. I love you, all of you. And I pray that we wake up and we see reality for what it is. We bring freedom back. We bring love back. We bring honesty back. We bring virtue back. We stop identifying with our politics and making those rigid and unflexible and part of our identity. And we make being a good person and treating other people with respect, dignity, and honesty that unchanging North Star that dictates how we live our daily lives. And we allow our politics to change based on the changing situation and the changing diverse group of people on this planet. And you will get the world that you want through your own individual decision if we do it on a large enough scale. Take care.